Why are so many fantasy writers using exclusively things like werewolves and dragons, when the mythologies of the world are filled with creatures that are weirder, darker, and sometimes far more powerful for storytelling? I spent over 20 years writing fantasy, and for this video I dug into mythologies most writers overlook, finding 8 creatures that don't just look cool, but force things to happen. To start, let me show you how to take a creature most people have never heard of and turn it into the emotional turning point of an entire chapter. Imagine a lake at the edge of a village. Nobody swims, no one fishes. Not because of a ban, but because of what happened to Matteo's daughter. He was the first to vanish, then the butcher's boy, then the healer's sister. One by one, people disappeared, later found drowned, eyes, nails, and teeth missing. Villagers said it was a curse, a punishment. But Matteo had seen the hand, not on a person, on the tail of the thing that pulled them under. In Aztec mythology, the Ahuizotl is a water creature that drags people into lakes and steals those specific body parts. Because it doesn't attack at random, it chooses. Every victim had something to hide. Use it in a world where lakes are sacred, where confession is forbidden, or where truth itself has power. This is the creature you fight with weapons. It forces problems to the surface. Maybe your hero abandoned someone and never admitted it. Or maybe the town covered up a crime to keep the peace. When the Ahuizotl shows up, it doesn't just attack, it drags secrets into the open. And the only way to stop it is to admit the thing no one wants to say. Now, if you want more tools like this, creatures, moments, and world ideas that push your story forward, then join the 840 writers getting my weekly newsletter. You can find the link in the description below. And with that, let me move on, because unmasking the truth like the Ahuizotl does is just the beginning. Because the next creature doesn't judge you, it punishes the world for what you've already done. This is a creature from Scottish folklore, a skinless horseman hybrid whose breath withers crops, spreads disease, and poisons the land itself. It isn't a villain, it's a fallout. The Nuka-Lavie appears when people break natural pacts, like overhunting, polluting, or draining magic without paying it back. It follows rules, ugly ones sometimes, but rules all the same. If your world has environmental decay, corrupted rituals, or kingdoms feeding off forbidden power, don't just explain the cost, show it. Use the Nuka-Lavie not as an invader, but as a shadow that follows. Drop it into a land that banned the old gods, or a town that drains power from ground they were told not to touch. Let your protagonist see the damage that's been building, and what happens when the land fights back. It's not about strength, it's about facing what your world did wrong, and dealing with the price. And that brings us straight into a different kind of horror. Not rot or plague, but a temptation that smiles, listens, and spins silk before it bites. Picture a writer named Len. He's drafting a pivotal chapter where his hero has just escaped a betrayal. The character is wounded and paranoid when he stumbles across a secluded healer. He's quiet, attentive, he bandages him without flinching and listens without judging. The idea is clear. This is where the hero lets someone in, drops his guard for the first time. But every version of Len's scene falls flat, because there's no real risk. Trusting here seems too easy, and that's the issue, because the reader doesn't worry about what might happen next. Then Len finds the Joroguma. In Japanese folklore, the Joroguma is a giant spider who takes the form of a beautiful woman. She doesn't strike with force, she creates comfort. She traps her victims not with venom, but with validation. The danger is emotional first, physical second. So Len reshapes the scene. Now the healer hums a lullaby that echoes the hero's childhood. He places a hand exactly where he's hiding a wound he hasn't revealed. And when he finally lets his shoulders drop, we notice something new. A single silver thread glinting behind her on the floor. That's the flip. The reader stops wondering now if she's dangerous and starts asking what she wants. The tension isn't in the reveal, it's in what happens next. This is what the Joroguma does best. He opens the door, waits for a character to walk through it, and never raises her voice. She's perfect for moments where trust is the risk, where emotional comfort is the setup, not the reward. If your hero's greatest weakness isn't fear, but the need to feel seen, she's the perfect trap. Not because she strikes, but because she doesn't have to. They want to fall into her arms, until they recognize the danger. But while this one uses what your protagonist wants to pull them closer, the next creature waits to see what they deserve. And when it weighs their heart, it doesn't flinch either. Think of judgment in your story like a log. You can force it open with action, distract from it with spectacle, or if you're smart, you can make the log part of the entire world itself. Amit is that log. In Egyptian mythology, she's part lion, part hippo, part crocodile. She doesn't hunt, she doesn't chase. She waits beside the scales of the dead. If your heart is heavier than truth, she eats it. Not because she's evil, because you failed the test. And that means if your story needs a moment where your protagonist is caught not by the enemy, but by the weight of their own contradictions, she's perfect. Use her as a literal judge, a tomb guardian, a city ritual, or a magical threshold, or echo the structure she represents. Build a location, a character, or spell that holds a silent verdict, where every step forward depends on not what your hero does, but who they really are when no one's looking. This works best when your character's internal arc has been building to a choice they've avoided. They tell themselves they're noble, loyal, ready to lead. Then Amit, or whatever stands in her place, calls the bluff. Make that moment quiet, weighty. No roaring, no chase. Just a decision they can't talk their way out of, and a cost that makes them earn the right to continue. But what happens when the danger doesn't wait for you to reach it? What if it slips through the cracks and into your bed? Imagine a cramped wizard's dormitory. Stone walls, 4 bunks, a single enchanted lamp that flickers at odd hours. One morning, a boy wakes up screaming. His foot's bleeding and his pinky toe is gone. Everyone says it was an accident, maybe frostbite, maybe rats. But he remembers something wet on the floor. A splash, then nothing. In Zulu folklore, the Tikoloshi is a dwarf-like goblin that creeps into homes at night, bites off toes, and vanishes before morning. It becomes invisible by drinking water, literally disappearing into domestic space. Now, here's the twist. What if someone in that dorm fed it? That's where the Tikoloshi shines, not as a solo monster, but as a relational weapon. Someone has to allow it, protect it, hide the bowl it drinks from. So if you want to show how trust breaks down in a tight group, this creature is perfect as well. Use it in tight environments, barracks, student quarters, underground towns, situations where trust should be a given. Then unravel it slowly. A missing toe, a sleeper who never wakes, or a roommate who always leaves the water dish out just in case. The moment your protagonist realizes someone wanted the harm to happen, that's when your cozy ensemble cast turns cold. But while the Tikoloshi forces intimacy into dread, the next creature flips the scale entirely by swallowing the sky and dragging the heavens down with it. Tension in your story can be viewed like a tide. It rises, pulls back, then surges. But every now and then you need a massive wave, something that crashes through the rhythm and turns the entire shoreline upside down. That's what the Bakunava is. In Filipino mythology, the Bakunava is a sea serpent so massive it rises from the depths to devour the moon. Entire communities once believed they had to bang drums or sing ritual songs to keep it at bay. Which means the Bakunava isn't just a monster. It's a kind of threat that turns a normal night into the end of the world. It's the moment when natural order breaks and the whole world holds its breath. Use it when you need to signal a shift that everyone feels. When the stakes aren't just personal but planetary. The Bakunava lets you frame eclipses, natural disasters, or magical surges not as weather, but as a consequence. And because the serpent eats the moon, the metaphor here writes itself. The world loses light. So something constant, guiding, celestial is suddenly gone. That's your cue to trigger the irreversible. Maybe an important ritual fails, or a kingdom fractures, or possibly a truth is revealed in darkness that no one saw coming. You don't need a battle to show this one's impact. Just the silence after the sky goes dark, the way people react, the way a protagonist realizes they've run out of time and whatever was coming is already here. But having said that, not every loss shakes the world. Some are smaller, harder to name, but just as heavy. And the next creature? She knows those losses inside out, because she takes them with her wherever she goes. Some creatures frighten because of what they do. The Penanggalan frightens because of what it is. In Southeast Asian folklore, it's a woman whose head detaches from her body at night, organs and intestines dangling behind her, while she floats through the dark, feeding on blood. She's not a ghost, she's not cursed. She chooses this form, often through ritual, often for power. And that's what makes her terrifying, because worst of all, she hides in plain sight. During the day, she's just another person. No one suspects her. She talks like everyone, lives like everyone, but when night falls, she leaves her body behind and becomes something else entirely. That's where the tension comes from. This isn't a creature your characters can spot by looking for sharp teeth or glowing eyes. They have to pay attention to behavior. To small things like odd habits, gaps in memory, fear of certain herbs, or strange rituals around sleeping. The fear builds not because the Penanggalan attacks, but because no one knows who she is. If your story needs mistrust inside a tight group, like villagers, soldiers, or students, this is another way how you do it. Let suspicion build here. Let safety feel uncertain. Maybe the healer is too quiet, or maybe someone keeps finding blood on the windowsill. And when the truth comes out, it shouldn't feel like a monster reveal. It should feel like betrayal. Because someone your characters knew and relied on wasn't who they said they were. They were feeding on people, possibly even people your protagonist cared about. That's the real horror. Not the creature itself, but what it means for the people around her. But the final creature doesn't create fear through betrayal. It offers peace, comfort, and it works until there's nothing left to care about. Imagine a friend who always shows up when you need them most. You're scared, they're there. You wake from a nightmare, they take it away. No questions, no cost. Until one day, they don't leave at all anymore. In Japanese mythology, the Baku is a supernatural creature that devours nightmares. People call to it for protection during sleep. But there is a catch. If you rely on it too much, feed it too often, it doesn't just eat your fear. It starts taking your hopes, your dreams, your will, and that turns comfort into erosion. You see, the Baku is the perfect stand-in for avoidance, for the kind of magical system, object, or character that offers your protagonist peace at the price of their potential. Use it when you want your story to explore the slow danger of safety. Maybe it's a warding charm that suppresses memory, or familiar that protects a child by numbing her imagination. At first, it just feels like relief, but the more they rely on it, the less they feel anything at all. And by the time they notice what's missing, it's already taken too much. By now, one thing should be obvious. These creatures don't just fill space. They have a purpose. That's a real difference. You see, story isn't built from lore, it's built from pressure, from what makes your protagonist hesitate, break, or rise. And if you want to structure an entire fantasy novel around those moments, with a full functional outline that doesn't collapse halfway through, then watch this video here next, where I show you the exact framework I use to write my own novels.